Hey everyone, Carlo here. Welcome to my dedicated watch channel. So this is a YouTube channel that's all about my passion for watches. And if you haven't subscribed to my main channel yet, I actually have a primary channel that's all about sneakers and gadgets. So if you want to subscribe to that, the link can be found down below. That channel has over 700,000 subscribers. But today's episode, we are going to talk about my Rolex journey. So in the time that I've been in watches or been fascinated with watches, I've actually gone through 3 Rolex watches. And in today's episode, I'll be sharing with you what was the first, what was the second, and what did I end up with, which was actually the piece that I wanted to own and that I've been abusing almost every day. Let's go. Those 2 Rolex watches are no longer with me, the first 2. Because what happened was I bought the first, wasn't too happy with it, ended up selling it, bought the second one, wasn't too happy with it, ended up selling it, and then from the money that I was able to get and to add, I was actually able to buy the piece that I actually wanted. So the first Rolex watch that I ever got was a Rolex Submariner. So I think it was a 1992 or 1991 model. Looked really good. I mean, it looked fantastic. It was everything and you could ask for in a classic iconic sub. However, 40 millimeters just doesn't agree with my 8-inch wrist. So while I knew that I actually had one of the most iconic watches from Rolex and one of the most sought after pieces, it just didn't feel right on my wrist. So the great thing about Rolex watches is that you can actually sell them, if not get your money back, a little less than that, or maybe if you're lucky, maybe even more than what you paid for. So I sold that piece and I ended up getting another Rolex, which was a Rolex Explorer 2. This one with the black dial. And I don't know why I pulled the trigger when on paper it clearly showed that it was almost the same size. I think it was 39 or 40 millimeters. So it's the same problem. So when I put it on my wrist, bam, it felt too small, wasn't too comfy with it, didn't like it too much. It looked great out of the box. It looked good on the box, but when it was on my wrist, it just didn't feel me. And I just didn't vibe with it. Well, vibe with the watch, no? So, but anyway, to make a long story short, I ended up selling that piece as well. And finally, after months of searching and researching and reading up on watches, I finally came up on the watch that I wanted to have. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the piece that I'm talking about, and it sits perfectly on my 8-inch wrist. This is the Rolex Deep Sea Seadweller, and man oh man, it is a tour de force when it comes to technology on watches. And it just, more important than anything, all the stuff that I could think about in terms of the specs and the features, it feels good on my wrist. I feel great about it. I connect with it. The vibe is there. The fit is there. And man, I am so happy about this watch, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about it. If I compare this to the Submariner is like your classic subdued staple watch, the one that you'll never change because it already works and it is, legendary status already. While this, on the other hand, is simply overkill. Overkill in terms of features, overkill in terms of what it can do, and obviously overkill in terms of size. The reason why I love it so much, it sits at 44 millimeters in diameter, which is again my ideal diameter size for my 8-inch wrist, and it feels good, it wears well. I keep on saying that, but because primarily after going through 2 super expensive Rolexes, finally able to find one that fits well is just amazing. Some people might find it a little bit too thick. It is 17.8 millimeters thick. So if you're not used to wearing chunky watches, then this might obviously not appeal to you. Then you can go for the Explorer and the Submariners and the smaller 40 below millimeter watches of Rolex. Great thing about the selection that they have is that you can find something for everyone. My challenge though with the 17.8 millimeters is that I needed to attend like a special important meeting for work, and I put on like my typical suit, and this one just had a hard time. Well, I can't even say a hard time. It just wouldn't fit, inside or below the cuff. So it's just too big for that at 17.8 mm. But by the way, you're supposed to wear like, leather or dress watches versus this for those type of situations. Another thing that I absolutely love about this is the clasp. And that's the bracelet and the clasp. And being a Seiko fan, I've always wondered why some people kept on complaining about the bracelet and the clasps of Seiko. And it's only up until I owned this watch when I realized what was the issue, because it's just night and day. So first, the quality is there, it feels good, the shine is awesome. So you actually have this flip lock over here, so you just pull it upwards, and then once it's unlocked, all you have to do is pull this back or forward to adjust the straps. And you can also do it, I think, on another way with another part, but I haven't tried that one out. But I'm just happy that I can do that because it allows for a little bit more versatility with how you want to wear your watch. So for example, in situations, I don't know, when your wrist is kind of swelling, maybe when it's hot or when it's cold, it starts to shrink, you can actually adjust the size on the fly without needing tools. It has a 5.5mm thick sapphire crystal on top of it, which makes it shock resistant, scratch resistant, and of course, if you're going to go diving, that thick of a glass will not burst or shatter. Speaking of diving, this has a ridiculous 3,900 meters diving depth, and it has that helium escape valve over here. So from what I've researched, I'm not a diver, is that when you go deep, helium starts to go in your watch. So you need to let that helium out before you resurface, otherwise it will, well, blow up. Well, not explode, but it might shatter or stuff like that. So that's why you have the helium escape valve. It has a titanium case back, and to add more luxury to that, the indices and the markers are actually lined or accented with white gold. Inside those markers and indices, of course, is the chromalite luminescent material, which glows in some sort of like blue color as opposed to the usual green if you are in dark situations or in dark rooms or when you are in where you are diving. Inside this is the caliber 3135 movement of Rolex, which has a 48-hour power reserve automatic winding, and it is retested and certified as a chronometer. Now, there are probably more features that I'm not able to cover anymore, it being like magnetic resistance and so many other things. But ultimately, what I can tell you is that I absolutely love the watch. The fit is there, the vibe is there, the color is spot on. It's a watch that talks to me and I enjoy wearing, and that I think ultimately is what matters. So having gone through the Submariner, the Explorer 2, finally, my Rolex journey has come to a point where I can actually have a piece that I enjoy wearing and own for a long, long time. That said, that wraps up my quick feature of my first ever, well, not really first ever, it's the third. But again, it's the first Rolex watch that I've ever owned that I've really come to like and love. This is Carlo signing out. As usual, peace, God bless, what's up, boom.